What happens when a young woman, forged in the fires of fame, walks into a room full of seasoned voices, each ready to challenge her story? What happens when the child the world watched grow up finally confronts the system that raised her? Today on The View, that question had an answer. And it wasn't what anyone expected. And let's unravel what really happened when Millie Bobby Brown sat across from Sunny Hostin and refused to be silenced. The lights on set flickered slightly as the audience settled in, that familiar theme music of The View rolling across the studio like a wave of anticipation. Please welcome our guest today, Whoopi Goldberg announced, her tone upbeat but measured. She's an actress, producer, and entrepreneur. You know her from Stranger Things, and now she's here to talk about her new movie and more, Millie Bobby Brown. The applause hit like thunder. Millie stepped out, dressed in an elegant white suit, her hair slicked back, her expression calm. But her eyes, sharp, defiant, carrying stories far beyond her years, betrayed a simmering fire. She waved lightly to the audience, smiling, poised, but the energy was off. The crowd felt it. The hosts felt it. There was something in the air that morning. Something about to snap. She took her seat between Joy Behar and Sunny Hostin. Millie, welcome to The View. Whoopi began warmly. You've grown up in front of the world. How does it feel now, looking back at your journey? Millie let out a soft laugh. It's strange. I see myself at 12 and think, that girl didn't know what was coming. The crowd chuckled gently, but Millie's tone had an edge, an awareness that made the laughter fade quickly. Joy leaned in. Well, you seem to be doing fine now. You're engaged, you've got your own brand, a hit career. I'd say you made it out okay. Millie's smile was polite but not convincing. I made it out. That's the key part of that sentence. There was a pause. A few people in the audience glanced at each other. Sunny Hostin, sitting upright, adjusted her earpiece. Her eyes locked on Millie. You said something recently that's gotten a lot of attention, she began. You said, Hollywood stole my childhood. That's a heavy statement. Some people think that's the price of fame, that everyone gives up something to succeed. What did you mean by that? Millie's jaw tightened. I meant exactly what I said, she replied softly. I started working when I was 9. By 12, I was being talked about like I was 25. Grown adults were debating how I looked, what I wore, how I spoke. Nobody asked if I was okay. The crowd went quiet. Sunny tilted her head. But fame comes with a spotlight, right? And that spotlight gives you opportunities, money, influence, freedom. Do you think maybe that's part of the balance? Millie looked directly at her. There's no balance when you lose your innocence. A hush fell. Even Whoopi looked down at her notes, suddenly aware the conversation had shifted into deeper territory. Joy tried to lighten it up. Well, I guess the internet can be rough on everyone these days. Millie didn't bite. The internet didn't do this. Adults did. Directors, producers, journalists, people who should have protected me. Her words cut clean through the air. The audience murmured. Cameras zoomed in closer. Sunny nodded slowly, keeping her voice level. But Millie, don't you think those experiences made you stronger? You're clearly thriving now. Don't you see that as empowerment? Millie's expression didn't change. Empowerment isn't something the world gives you after breaking you. It's what you fight to rebuild yourself from. The applause was instant, short, sharp, powerful. Sunny gave a thin smile. That's a fair point. But I think some people might say, it's hard to hear someone who's rich, famous, and successful talk about being a victim. Especially when millions of girls would trade places with you in a second. Millie's head tilted slightly, her tone steady. And that's exactly the problem, Sunny. That we've taught girls that suffering is part of success. That pain is the price for being seen. Another wave of applause, louder this time. Whoopi nodded approvingly. Joy leaned back, arms crossed. But Sunny wasn't done. Her journalist instinct was firing. Still, you chose this life, didn't you? You kept acting, you built your brand. Fame isn't an accident. Millie's voice softened, but every syllable landed like a hammer. I was 12 years old. The studio went dead silent. Sunny blinked, her lips parting slightly. The crowd froze. Even the stage crew, off camera, seemed to pause mid-breath. I didn't choose to be followed by grown men, Millie continued. I didn't choose to have my childhood dissected on social media. I didn't choose to be treated like a woman before I even understood what that meant. That wasn't ambition. That was exploitation. Someone in the crowd whispered, "Wow," just loud enough for the mics to catch it. Joy looked uneasy. That's heavy. Millie nodded slightly. It should be. Sunny clasped her hands. So what do you want to see change? What's the answer in your view? Millie looked straight into the camera. Accountability. Real accountability. Stop pretending these systems are accidental. They're built to consume young people and spit them out. Especially girls. Her voice cracked, not with weakness, but conviction. Whoopi leaned in. You're saying Hollywood needs to rebuild itself from the ground up. Millie nodded. Or it'll keep destroying people and calling it art. Applause erupted again, this time sustained, emotional. Sunny's expression softened. For a second, it looked like empathy flickered across her face, but it didn't last long. She straightened her shoulders. You know, Millie, I respect your passion. But let me just ask this directly. Isn't it hypocritical to condemn the industry while you're still benefiting from it? You've got brands, deals, press. Doesn't that make you part of the same system you're criticizing? A ripple went through the audience. Millie didn't flinch. So I should be silent to make you more comfortable? The line landed like thunder. The audience gasped. Some clapped instinctively. Sunny blinked, taken aback. That's not what Millie interrupted gently but firmly. Silence is what kept me hurt. It's what keeps every girl quiet when something happens. So no, I won't apologize for speaking. And I won't stop because it makes people uneasy. Whoopi raised a hand slightly, smiling faintly. Well, I think we can agree this is The View at its finest. Real talk, real emotion. The audience laughed, tension breaking just slightly. But the energy between Millie and Sunny still burned. Two women from different generations, different worlds, staring across a line neither had expected to cross. The camera panned close to Millie's face, her eyes glassy but unbroken. Sunny shifted, speaking more softly now. I think your message is important. I really do. But it's also dangerous to paint every person in the industry as a villain. Some people care. Some people want to do better. Millie nodded. Then they should prove it. There it was again, the power, the calm, the pain behind her words. The audience began to applaud once more, but this time slower, heavier, less entertainment, more respect. The red light on the camera blinked. The director signaled for commercial. Whoopi smiled. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more with Millie Bobby Brown. Don't go anywhere. Applause swelled. The music played. But even as the cameras stopped rolling, the air didn't relax. Sunny leaned slightly toward Millie, her tone quiet but pointed. You handled that well. Millie looked at her, not angry, not smug, just tired. I wasn't performing, she said. I was surviving. Sunny blinked. For once, she didn't have a comeback. The camera light went off completely. The applause faded. And for a moment, there was only silence, thick, heavy, electric. Because everyone in that studio knew. The real storm hadn't even started yet. The studio lights dimmed as the cameras went dark, but the tension didn't fade. It thickened, like fog refusing to lift after a storm. Behind the applause and the cheery music, the set of The View felt like a pressure cooker ready to burst. The hosts rose from their chairs, stretching smiles that didn't reach their eyes. Millie sat for a moment, staring into her untouched glass of water. Around her, stagehands buzzed with nervous energy, adjusting lights, checking sound. Producers whispered into headsets. The air carried that unmistakable charge, the feeling that someone had just said something that couldn't be unsaid. Sunny Hostin stood, straightening her jacket, her professional calm slowly cracking at the edges. Strong segment, she said, mostly to no one. Whoopi gave her a look, part warning, part exhaustion. You went hard, Sunny. Sunny lifted a brow. I asked questions. That's my job. Whoopi exhaled. Sometimes the question isn't the problem. It's the way you ask it. Across the room, Millie's publicist was already whispering urgently into her phone, pacing, muttering. Yeah, that's going to blow up in 10 minutes. We need to control the clip before it trends. Millie finally rose from her seat, collecting herself. Her expression was unreadable. Not anger, not fear, just that eerie stillness people have when adrenaline hasn't worn off yet. As she walked off stage, a camera operator, still rolling B-roll, caught a fleeting moment, Millie passing Sunny. The briefest exchange of glances. No words. Just a chill in the air that said everything. The video of that glance would later go viral. But that was still an hour away. For now, the storm was brewing behind closed doors. In the dressing room, Millie sat on the edge of a couch, scrolling her phone. Notifications flooded her screen. Fan pages already clipping the segment, posting captions like, Millie Bobby Brown stands up to The View's Sunny Hostin in powerful exchange. A headline from a pop culture blog flashed before her eyes. Millie Bobby Brown confronts toxic Hollywood, live on The View. Her hands trembled slightly. She wasn't used to feeling vindicated. Usually, she was the one being picked apart. Her assistant peeked in. Your PR rep wants you to know. Your statement's trending. Already 1 million views on TikTok. Fans are calling it your freedom moment. Millie looked up, her expression blank. Freedom? I just told the truth. Meanwhile, just a few doors down, Sunny was pacing her own dressing room, her phone buzzing nonstop. Why did you push her like that? Read one message from a colleague. Another text from her producer. Social media is siding with Millie. You might need to address this. Sunny's reflection in the mirror stared back, calm but conflicted. She'd spent her career speaking truth to power, but now she wondered if she'd misjudged this one. Her makeup artist broke the silence. It was intense out there. Sunny forced a smile. Intensity gets views. But even she didn't believe her own words. Back in the hallway, Whoopi Goldberg stood near the green room doorway, speaking quietly with a producer. She's young, but she's not wrong, Whoopi murmured. Hollywood chews kids up. Always has. The producer sighed. We didn't expect it to get that heavy. Whoopi shot him a look. You bring on someone who's been in the spotlight since childhood and ask about exploitation. You better be ready for an answer. Down the hall, Joy Behar was already cracking jokes to Sarah Haynes to lighten the air. I told you, Sarah. You don't mess with Gen Z. They bite back. Sarah chuckled weakly. She's got fire, I'll give her that. Joy smirked. Fire? That girl just burned half of Hollywood on live TV. By noon, the clip hit Twitter. At first, it was just short segments, Millie saying privilege doesn't erase pain, looped over dramatic music. But within hours, full edits surfaced with captions like, Sunny Hostin gaslights Millie Bobby Brown on The View. Millie Bobby Brown destroys The View with one sentence. When a 20-year-old schools the media on exploitation. The internet was on fire. On TikTok, fans dissected every expression, every pause. Reaction videos filled feeds, creators analyzing Sunny's tone, the moment Millie said, I was 12, and that piercing line. I wasn't performing. I was surviving. One clip gained 5 million views in 2 hours. The top comment read, this wasn't an interview. It was a reckoning. By mid-afternoon, The View's PR team was scrambling. Sunny sat in a conference call with producers, her expression tight. We need to clarify my position, she said. This narrative makes it look like I attacked her. A producer chimed in nervously. Well, you kind of did challenge her statements. That's the job, Sunny snapped. Then, more quietly, that's what people expect from me. Whoopi, joining via video, sighed. Sometimes doing the job doesn't mean you forget the person. Sunny rubbed her temples. You think I don't know that? Another producer interjected. We could post a tweet saying it was a passionate discussion about women in Hollywood. Don't, Sunny interrupted sharply. That'll make it worse. Then what do we do? Sunny hesitated. We wait. Let it burn out. But it wasn't going to burn out. It was only spreading. That night, Millie sat alone in her hotel room, city lights flickering through the curtains. The sound of her phone buzzing on the nightstand was constant, like a second heartbeat. She didn't want to look. But curiosity won. Hashtag Team Millie was trending #1. Tweets flooded in. Millie Bobby Brown just spoke for every child star who's ever been exploited. Sunny Hostin owes her an apology. That was hard to watch. Millie deserved more respect. And then a twist. Another wave of comments appeared, smaller at first, but growing. Sunny wasn't wrong. You can't blame the system and profit from it. Millie's playing the victim. If you hate Hollywood so much, why are you still in it? Millie stared at the screen. The old, familiar ache returned. The one that came whenever she tried to be honest and got punished for it. Her fiancé texted her. You okay? She typed back. Yeah. Just tired. Then deleted it. Instead, she sent. It's weird. I thought telling the truth would feel freeing. He replied. It is freeing. It's just heavy before it's light. Millie set the phone down, leaning back. She thought about what she'd said, about the look in Sunny's eyes when she said, privilege doesn't erase pain. Maybe Sunny hadn't expected her to fight back. Maybe no one had. The next morning, The View returned, and the studio was buzzing louder than ever. The audience was packed, journalists lined up outside, and the producers were fielding calls from every entertainment outlet in the country. The incident had become national news. Whoopi opened the show carefully, choosing her words like she was defusing a bomb. Yesterday's interview with Millie Bobby Brown has sparked a lot of conversation, she said, her tone steady. We talk about real stuff on this show, and sometimes that means things get heated. But that's what The View is about, different perspectives. Joy added, yeah, sometimes a little too different. A few people chuckled. Sunny stayed silent, her face composed but distant. Sarah finally turned to her. You've been quiet, Sunny. How do you feel about how it all went down? Sunny exhaled slowly. I think Millie's perspective is important. And if people felt I came off harsh, that wasn't my intent. Whoopi nodded. Growth moment. Sunny forced a faint smile. Maybe for both of us. The audience applauded lightly, but the energy was different now, cautious, aware. After the show, Sunny walked out to her car and found a crowd of paparazzi waiting. Microphones flew toward her. Sunny, do you regret your comments to Millie? Do you plan to apologize? Has The View contacted Millie for another interview? Sunny's jaw tightened. No comment, she said, slipping into her car. But inside, she knew the silence wouldn't protect her this time. Meanwhile, Millie's team received an official email from ABC producers. We'd like to invite Millie back for a follow-up interview next week to continue the discussion in a constructive tone. Her publicist frowned. They want to fix their image. Millie shook her head. They want ratings. Do you want to go back? She hesitated. Not yet. Not until I know what I want to say next. She turned to the window, watching New York's chaos unfold below. The horns, the flashbulbs, the constant noise, it all felt familiar. But something had changed. For the first time, she didn't feel small in it. For the first time, she felt seen. By that evening, clips of Sunny's silence from that morning's episode started circulating again. The internet had found a new villain and a new hero. One viral tweet summed it up. Millie Bobby Brown versus. The View wasn't just an interview. It was generational warfare. Another read. When a 20-year-old tells the truth and a 55-year-old can't handle it, that's power shifting in real time. News anchors debated it. Podcasts dissected it. And talk show rivalries reignited overnight. But for Millie, the noise faded when she finally opened her messages and saw one that made her pause. It was from another former child star. You said what we couldn't. She stared at it for a long time, then finally replied, maybe it's time more of us did. The screen dimmed. Outside, the city lights reflected in her eyes, not blinding her this time, but burning with purpose. The storm that started on The View was only beginning. And this time, Millie wasn't running from it. She was walking straight into it. The world was on fire, and Millie Bobby Brown was at the center of it. By sunrise, clips from The View had flooded every corner of the internet. Millions watched her stare down Sunny Hostin and say, I was 12. Those 3 words echoed like a siren across platforms. Hashtags trended. Hashtag Team Millie and hashtag Sunny Apologize. Inside her hotel suite, Millie scrolled through her phone, her face lit by the glow of chaos. There were messages from fellow stars, strangers, even journalists asking for follow-ups. Some thanked her for speaking out. Others accused her of dramatizing her past. Fame, she realized, was an echo chamber, praise and hate bouncing endlessly until you couldn't tell which was louder. Her fiancé, Jake, tried to calm her. You don't have to read it, he said softly. But Millie shook her head. I need to know what they're saying. Not for me, for every girl who's ever been silenced. Meanwhile, inside The View's studio, producers huddled around monitors. The tension from the interview hadn't cooled. It had boiled over. Sunny Hostin sat in her dressing room, scrolling through the backlash with a clenched jaw. Her phone buzzed with a call from the network. Sunny, a voice warned, you need to issue a statement. Now. Sunny hesitated. She wasn't used to being the villain. She had built her career on asking hard questions. But this time, the world thought she went too far. A knock came at the door. Whoopi stepped in quietly, arms folded. You know, sometimes being right isn't the same as being kind, she said. Sunny didn't reply. She just stared at her reflection, wondering when the line between journalism and judgment had blurred. Across town, Millie agreed to do one short live statement. Not to defend herself, but to clarify. Cameras rolled as she spoke softly. I didn't go on The View to argue. I went to tell the truth. I love what I do. But fame doesn't mean silence. and no one should have to trade innocence for success. Her words struck deeper than anyone expected. By nightfall, public sentiment shifted fully in her favor. Fans rallied, creators dissected the moment, and media outlets replayed her statement with slow-motion reverence. Sunny released an apology tweet hours later, brief, careful, corporate. But the damage was done. Millie's calm defiance had become a cultural moment, a mirror reflecting Hollywood's unspoken wounds. And as the lights of the city dimmed, Millie closed her laptop, whispering to herself, "This time, I didn't back down." Days passed, but the echoes of that moment refused to fade. Clips of Millie's trembling voice, "I was 12, continued to circulate, now set to emotional background music in countless fan edits. It wasn't just a viral moment anymore. It had become a movement. Talk shows dissected every expression, every breath. Psychologists weighed in on the trauma of child stardom. Feminist groups praised Millie's courage. Even celebrities who had stayed silent about Hollywood's darker side began speaking up, referencing the View incident as a turning point. For Sunny Hostin, the glare was relentless. Each time she opened social media, her mentions were a battlefield. Some defended her, saying she was doing her job. But most called her out, accusing her of insensitivity, arrogance, and weaponizing her platform. Producers at The View held emergency meetings. Should they address it publicly again? Would they invite Millie back for reconciliation? Whoopi Goldberg reportedly said, "That girl told her truth. Let's not turn it into TV bait." But truth was already out there, and it was messy, raw, and human. Meanwhile, Millie had retreated to the English countryside, away from flashing cameras. The air was different there, crisp, quiet, unjudging. She sat by a window one gray morning, sipping tea, watching rain streak the glass. Her phone buzzed, a message from her agent. "You've been asked to speak at the Women in Media Summit." She hesitated. The last time she spoke publicly, the world split in half. But maybe that was the point. A week later, she stepped onto a new stage. No TV cameras, no shouting hosts, no commercial breaks. Just a quiet crowd and a single microphone. She looked out, took a breath, and began. When you grow up on camera, you learn how to perform emotions before you ever understand them. You learn to smile through pain because millions are watching. But the moment you stop performing, the world calls you ungrateful. The room fell silent. "I'm not angry at Sunny Hostin," she continued, voice steady. "I'm thankful, because she forced me to speak truth, even when my hands were shaking." A pause. Then she added, almost whispering, "I don't want sympathy. I want change for the next girl who signs a contract before she finishes school." The audience rose to their feet. Cameras flashed again, but this time the moment felt sacred, not spectacle. Later that night, social media flooded with clips from her speech. #MillieSpeaks trended globally. Fans wrote about how her courage gave them strength. Even Sunny Hostin reposted the clip with the caption, "Growth comes from discomfort." Millie watched it all quietly. The anger had left her. What remained was a quiet kind of victory, not against a person, but against silence itself. Back in her room, she opened her laptop and began writing. Not a script, not a press statement, just her story unfiltered. It was something she hadn't done in years. Speak for herself, not through anyone else's words. As night fell, her phone pinged again. It was a message from Whoopi Goldberg. "You handled that like a queen. Don't let anyone take your crown again." Millie smiled faintly. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen, not as an actress, not as a child star, but as a woman finding her voice. The screen faded to black, and the narrator's voice cut in softly. Sometimes the loudest confrontations lead to the quietest revolutions. Millie Bobby Brown didn't just stand up for herself. She reminded Hollywood that fame shouldn't cost a childhood. Then, studio microphone voiceover outro, call to action. What do you think about Millie's clash with Sunny Hostin? Was she standing up for truth, or did things go too far on live TV? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below. We read every one. And if you want more explosive Hollywood moments and powerful real-life drama, make sure to subscribe to Talk Narrative and turn on notifications. Because the next story might be even bigger.